Yes. Yes, yes, yes. How's it going, people? How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Gunner's Corner and welcome back to another pre-match preview for the big one. For the biggest one, you can say. Some would argue, actually, what is the biggest game of the season in a couple days' time? Um, Now, is it our biggest game of the season? That's the question, really, I guess. And I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Um, But yeah, I mean, the game in question, right? The small matter of the EFL Cup final, Manchester City versus Arsenal Football Club. March 22nd, 2026. We will be there. People, this one is I'm not gonna lie to you. I find this is a big a very big occasion, a very big opportunity at stake here. The EFL Cup, sorry, is something that we've often turned our nose up at over the last few years. It is definitely traditionally seen as lowest of the priority list in terms of the trophies win that could be won in a season, certainly for a top club, right? If you're a top six club, um, your ambitions usually would be, winning Premier League, Champions League, whichever order you guys think that should come in. Those are the top two. Then you have the FA Cup in third, and then EFL Cup in fourth. Like I said, lowest of the pecking order, bottom of the priority list. Um, But yeah, man, I don't know. This year it seems so significant. It seems so serious, and then a couple of the reasons why um, you would say so is because again, this is the first time in a while you've had two of the top two teams in the country competing in the final, right? First versus second in the Premier League. Um, not often you see that. You haven't seen that too often over the last few years. Yes, sometimes often you'll get two top clubs or two of the top six clubs, let's say, but first versus second in the Premier League, competing also in the EFL Cup final, could it have bearings on the title race, right? There's still a title race at stake here, let's be honest. Um, and it's again the specifics of the two teams, Arsenal, Man City, right? From an Arsenal perspective, you're looking at Man City as kind of that final boss, Man City and Pep Guardiola, that final boss that you need to overcome, the hurdle that is Pep Guardiola, the student versus the master, Arteta versus Pep, the narrative behind that. Arsenal not being able to win a trophy for 5 years, whatever the case may be, 5, 6 years. And the first one we, will win if we are to win it is um, the one that's standing in our way, I guess you could say is again that guy, right? The master, the teacher, the professor, Mr. Pep Guardiola himself. If Arteta is to get his first trophy with this group and first trophy in 5, 6 years, he's going to do it at the expense of, his former mentor, his former, again, master in Pep, in that Man City team that's haunted us over the years. Um, the last final that we were in, the last EFL Cup final specifically, I should say, that Arsenal was in, was when Arsene Wenger was in charge. And I believe City dealt with us 3-0. It wasn't even a contest. We just turned up on the day hoping for the best and treated it as a day out, without even thinking that we had a genuine chance. Fast forward to now, I think that final would have been 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Something along those lines. But, again, we just took part, just a formality, just to make up the numbers for a cup final. But you fast forward to 2026, and here we are now, Arsenal Football Club. We have come such a long way as a team, as a club with our identity on and off the pitch, to now that we're talking about a point where we can compete with, the likes of Man City and en route to hopefully potentially winning the Premier League. You know, we can also pit them to another trophy in a cup final. Like, how mad is that to think? You know what I mean? It just couldn't have been written any better. It couldn't have been against Man United, Liverpool, anybody else, you know? But no, if we are to get our first trophy in 6 years, it's going to be, against the final boss, the one who's haunted us most over the recent times, the master of Pep Guardiola himself. Arteta is going to have to overcome, the mentor. Arsenal's going to have to overcome, the big boss, the ultimate boss, the big bullies, so to speak, in town. We used to be the bullies, back in the invincible days. Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Sol Campbell, Gilberto Silva, Lauren, Colo Torre. then we were getting bullied in Wenger's latter years. Now we've returned to something of a status of top dogs, of bullies, the ones that people fear. Um, not just because of our status, in the standings in both Europe and in the Premier League, but also just the way we play on the pitch. Some would say, the dark arts. We definitely don't have that soft underbelly anymore. You can't bully this Arsenal team. Set pieces will tell you that. The corner kick routines will tell you that. You're not going to bully us. Gabriel, Declan Rice, Timber, Saliba, you know, Hincapié, beasts, monsters, physical specimens. We're not that team anymore that you think you can bully, you know? And the mentality, that's the thing, right? Now what's going to be called into question is the mentality of this group and the mentality of the players. Can we get over the line? We had a fantastic season thus far, but now in a one-off cup final game, a trophy is on the line. Can we get over that hurdle, that final hurdle to get our first trophy with this group, Arteta's first in about 6 years? You know, um, when Arteta won the FA Cup in 2020, no fans were in the stadium. Now this is going to be a full-on packed out Wembley. I imagine most of the capacity of the fan base in the crowd at Wembley is going to be from the Arsenal side. I imagine that would be the case. I don't have that based on any factual information. That is just my my hunch. And just again, our fan base is naturally bigger, generally, respectively. I think we will be loud in there. And yeah, man, and so you're hoping that again, the addition of the fans, as the players walk out onto the pitch and you see thousands and thousands and thousands of fans, what, up to 80,000 more, maybe, fans at Wembley, um, that adds an additional pressure in itself, and hopefully the players are stirred on and spurred on by the fans who will help us get over the line and be that 12th man and just be loud and cheer and support. We're gonna need the fans there, on Sunday. We're gonna need the fans to give their all and their support for us and for the players. Um, because yeah, man, it's they're on this journey with us together, right? The fans, and I say us, I am a fan, so let me speak as part of the fan group. Us as fans, we're part of this journey that the players and Arteta and the coaching staff, are on. We're all doing this together. And if and when we get over the line, if it's not this trophy, it's, one of the other trophies this season, hopefully. We're going to collectively embrace and share in this moment together because it's going to be something so special, something we've been waiting for and craving and crying out for a very long time. We've gone through years of suffering and pain. The Arsenal fans who've been there, the day ones, the ones who've gone through the pain and the sorrows of, the 8-2s and 6-0 at Stamford Bridge and getting slapped by Bayern left, right, and center in the Champions League, getting slapped by Liverpool at Anfield. We've gone through so much, losing Van Persie to our arch nemesis, Samir Nasri out of Bayor, going to Man City themselves. You know, we've been through a lot, man. We've been through pain and suffering, and now is our time. And again, this is just, it can be written so beautifully. As I'm talking about it, I'm getting animated, people. I'm getting amped. I'm getting excited. This EFL Cup is not just a regular EFL Cup. It means so much more because of the narratives behind it. And this could be the changing of the guard. If we were to win it, the changing of the guard for Arsenal Football Club in the right direction. And could hopefully be a steamroll of getting that first trophy over the line and then, just collecting after that. Not just this season, but for years to come. We have to turn this into our time, our dynasty, and just collect and sweep up, man. You know, I'm amped, people. I don't know about you. I'm excited. I'm gonna be a little bit nervous on game day. I'm not, that Saturday night sleep going into that game on Sunday is gonna be something. Um, I'm just gonna wake up early for no reason on that Sunday morning, people. Just maybe start singing, maybe start, hopefully the weather's good, the sun is out. I should actually check the weather here now that I'm thinking about it. What's the weather gonna be like here on Sunday? Well, at the moment, people, it says if you're in the Toronto area, 5 degrees on Sunday, 50% chance of rain, and I'll take that. If you're in the area as well, come to Gatherings Resto Bar. That's where we'll be to link up to watch the game. Come link up with us. Come have a vibe, a drink, food, whatever. It's gonna be a great atmosphere, man. I'm so pumped and I'm buzzing for this. Man, we've been through years in the making for these moments. We've been waiting for Arsenal's turn to be the ones in the final and to be the ones competing for the top honors. And yeah, man, it's beautiful. And what a beautiful moment it is. What a beautiful season. And make sure we all just embrace it. Make sure you guys just enjoy the moment. Win, lose or draw, we got to be there to support, because even if we don't win this one on Sunday, we got to keep going. We got to, we move on and we go again because there's three other trophies still there to be won. So this won't be the be all end all. Let's make sure we phrase it correctly. It's not like the be all end all, but it'll be tough to take as a loss if we have to sit on that loss for 2 weeks of the international break. Um, Listen, we need to really switch on and give it our all and leave this 90 minutes, leave it on the pitch for 90 minutes, as they say, right? Going into the international break, leave it all out there. I have no doubt the players are going to be motivated. Really and truly, I think they're motivated. Of course, there will be nerves that'll kick in probably on the day, but the players have got to be motivated for this. Again, no one has to get you up for a cup final. No one has to tell you what this means. The motivation, again, the fact that it's Man City, I think there's just gonna be an extra motivation about the players and about Arteta and the team. And I'm hoping and praying for something positive. I think we can do it, but let's see. I know we can do it, as a matter of fact. Will we is another story. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Now, with that being said, Arteta did have his press conference. Both managers had their press conference. Pep Guardiola looked, as serious as ever. Obviously that poker face, not giving too much away. Although he did mention that Trafford will start on Sunday. I mean, obviously that's just his words. That is also subject to change. Let's get that out there, right? People need to remember that. He says something in a press conference, but on game day on the team sheet can be something completely different. Just because he said it today doesn't mean it is gospel per se. He could decide to just change his mind just because. Um, now I don't think he'll do that. I do think Trafford will probably start. Um, and yeah, I think he'll start but whatever, listen, whatever happens, whoever starts, this is not about focusing too much on that, the mind games, this and that. We just got to focus on what we got to do. I'm just reporting what was said during the press conference with regards to any updates on lineup and things like that. But yeah, Pep obviously also ruled out any, sort of discussions about a fallout between him and Arteta. He made the point, and Arteta made this point as well in his own press conference, that distance is the reason more than anything else than as to why they've, quote unquote, lost touch or fallen off in the last few years. Obviously Pep is busy in Manchester, Arteta's in London. They can't link up for a random dinner just every now and then, because of that distance. Elephant in the room, both teams are competing at the top table. They're rivals at this moment in time, competing against one another directly for, I mean, four competitions, three competitions. So it's not exactly the best moment to be all buddy buddy with your arch nemesis that you're trying to compete against to win trophies, right? Um, and yeah, they're busy with their football clubs, man, trying to win trophies. So yeah, just those questions, those sort of questions about fallout and trying to get a rise out of either one of the managers in the press conference. None of them are going to really bite, right? They're going to be respectful of one another. I'm sure they are still sort of best mates outside of all things football, and I'm sure this summer they'll probably get together regardless and have a drink and catch up and whatever and talk about the season. But as for now, it's strictly business. It's strictly business right now. There ain't no friends right now. I'll tell you that much. Um, Arteta desperately wants this over Pep and vice versa. You know, no, make no mistake, this means just as much to City as it does to Arsenal, right? City is just crashed out of the Champions League. They're 9 points off of the Premier League top of the Premier League with a game in hand, albeit, but they are 9 points off at this moment in time. So they're under a bit of pressure. Whether this is Pep's last season or not, he's not going to want to walk away on a whimper, without the trophies. He's already lost one, so the quadruple talk is gone there, and that's a big one to lose. Champions League means everything over there to Pep and to Man City. So yeah, that's going to hurt them. They are a wounded animal at the moment, and some say a wounded animal is dangerous. So we need to be very careful. On our side of things, um, let's talk about team news a little bit. I mean, Arteta, as he always does, says, "Oh, there's another training session tomorrow, so we'll see, how everyone comes through." He did mention that Odegaard and Timber could be in contention. They're progressing well, and it's just a matter of, game day decision, game time decision. Will he start them? Will he play them full stop? Will they be in the squad? After another training session, we'll see what their status is in terms of how they're feeling. So there's a lot still to be desired, and there's still a lot left to interpretation. We'll just have to look out for anything we can collect in training photos and things like that to see what their actual status is, right? Um, I'm sure training photos aren't going to give too much away either. But look, based on Arteta's press conference saying that, those two players are Odegaard and Timber, could be in contention. Just, we got to wait and see how they train. That's a positive, right? That they could likely be involved. To what capacity we will see, but at least they are looking like there's a possibility for them to be in contention. That's fantastic news. Otherwise, he did report that at this moment in time, there are no other fresh injury concerns. Again, he said tomorrow we'll have to wait and see up to the final training session what shape everybody's in. But at this moment in time, it looks like we pretty much have a fully fit squad, bar Mikel Merino that we know about, who's a longer term absentee. So that's great. Really, really good news. Um, which makes the team selection interesting. And he was asked about the goalkeeping situation, and again, he's not giving much away. Like Pep obviously came out and said that Trafford will play. Arteta didn't know such thing in his press conference. He didn't decide either way yet, who's starting between Raya or Kepa. Not surprising there. And again, he alluded to the fact that we have another training session, so we'll see what shape both players are in. Um, and yeah, so he was pressed and asked about the team camaraderie and if Raya starts and how will that affect things with both of those two players, Kepa and Raya, depending on who starts, and would Kepa essentially be done dirty if he's not starting? And again, he, gave good political answers and pour cold water on that situation. And obviously mentioned the fact that both of his keepers are top level and will compete. And, um, yeah. And so ultimately, we're going to have to wait and see on game day, right? We weren't going to get too much in terms of an answer about who's definitively starting today. That was never going to happen, right? 2 days before the final. We're going to get an answer. Um, when we see the team sheet on game day. That's what it is. He's not going to do a pep and tell us right now who's starting. We'll know on game day an hour or so before kickoff. Um, so without further ado, as I always say, let's get into the predicted 11 and the lineup with off the back of that. And I'm gonna say what I would do. I mean, we can argue and talk about this until we're blue in the face. Who plays in net? It's a cup final. You haven't won a cup in 5, 6 years. You go with the strongest team, right? But I truly do think he's gonna lean towards Kepa. Um, I think he is. Kepa hasn't really put too much of a foot wrong. He's been the cup keeper this whole time in this competition specifically. Um, you know, if he plays with our strongest team and our strongest back four in front of him, it should be fine, right? You would think he's an experienced goalkeeper, still the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, surprisingly. Um, and yeah, I think that's what Arteta's going to go with personally. This is based on Arteta's way of thinking. Is that a travesty if he starts? I mean, Donnarumma won't be starting for them, so Pep says. So I mean, it's not, horrible per se. I don't know, man. There's another conversation about what do you want your best team playing in a cup final, regardless of what kind of cup final it is, when there's a trophy on the line. Listen, man, I think Kepa will play. I've been debating it and fighting it amongst myself all week, but I think Kepa will be in goal. So, and if he is, we'll have to back it and support him. We really do support the team. Um, That's what I think, anyways. At right back, I think I think we're gonna go back to Yuri and Timber, assuming he's fully fit. Which again, Arteta's not giving much away, but at this time, if I'm willing to put something on the line, I'm gonna predict that Timber's fit and he's gonna start, which will be crucial because um, um, they have Jeremy Doku, who's a very tricky customer, right? Very, very tricky customer. I'm just not sure Ben White, we see Ben White struggle against one-on-one against, those type of tricky wingers who will take you on one-on-one, cut in, cut out, have you turning, running towards your own goal sort of thing. Ben White does struggle with those sometimes one-on-one. Mascara the same. Sometimes he can be rash when he goes to ground. And a player skips past him. I'm not sure if he can um keep up, with again another one-on-one tricky customer, right? Taller figure, right? Taller, lankier figure Mascara has. Does he have that sort of lower center of gravity to cope and deal with small, stocky, stronger wingers with quick feet like a Doku? I'm not sure. Um, but listen, big up Mascara, by the way. He was called up for Spain in the international um squad. Very exciting for him. I'm happy for him, and he deserves it. He was called up alongside Raya and Zubimendi, of course. So yeah. Um Yeah, listen. But yeah, for this one again, if Ben White or Mascara have to start, they have to start. But preference wise, of course, I think it would be a Timber, and I think if he's fit enough, I think Arteta's going to start him. If I'm being honest with you. Um, Center backs, Saliba, Gabriel. I think that goes without saying, right? Do I need to say more? Let's just keep it moving, shall we? Um, and I'm looking forward to another one of those matchups. By the way, Saliba and Gabriel versus Holland. We love those, right? Hopefully our guys can get stuck into him and nullify him out of the game again come Sunday. Left back, Piero Hincapié. Yeah, I think he's got the starting left back berth at the moment. Again, we have to respect our opposition. The attacking threat that they pose is um, could be a scary prospect when they're fully at it, right? And yeah, on the defensive side of things, I think you can trust Hincapié as our best defensive left back. He's a warrior. He's a beast. He's won trophies before. He knows what it means. Um, and he's been playing steady at the moment in big games for us alongside Gabriel right at the back there. So Ngapié starts for me, no questions asked. And midfield, let's just say how it is right away. The two that will play in there, Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi, similar to Saliba and Gabriel, right? That's our spine in midfield. That's our core right there, right? It's always important to have your core and trusted core in big games when you're trying to win trophies, right? So from your spine of David Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, and then in midfield, Martin Zubimendi and Rice. Yeah, that goes without saying again. And also because we don't have much other options there, to be honest with you. But yeah, Declan Rice and Zubimendi, that's been our spine and our core all season in midfield. That's our heartbeat. Stylistically, in terms of how we play, they're very important. We saw Martin Zubimendi have one of his better games last game against Leverkusen. And so hopefully he's returning to something of his best form. Um, Again, we'll be battling in midfield there against his Spanish counterpart, Rodri, right? There's a lot of individual battles too that are going to be fascinating on the day to take note of. But yeah, man, it's going to be a battle in there. And yeah, Zubimendi and Rice in midfield. Listen, we're hoping that they can get the better of City's midfield and just be compact in there, keep the ball well, tidy, and help get us forward and progress forward quickly when we need to and break the lines. Yeah, Declan Rice, Mendy in there in midfield. To complete the midfield three in the more further forward midfield position, the attacking midfield position, if you will, a man like Eberechi Eze deserves this shirt. A few weeks ago, you would have wondered, there would have been question marks about who's going to play in there. Um, I really think there would have been question marks about that. But yeah, no, I think as of late, there's no questions. Eze deserves the shirt. Run in ebbs, right? As they say, this time of year, March, April, May, he turns up when the sun is out, and maybe the spring or summer is around the corner. Business end of the season, as he turns up, he's been a man on a mission in the last couple of games. Man, like I said, did really well at Everton, not given enough credit for his performance there. Could have easily scored, was unlucky. And then obviously the banger against Leverkusen in the Champions League. He scored against City at Wembley before, not too long ago. In fact, just last season. Um, in the FA Cup exploits. So listen, man, this is your time, boy. Number 10 on your back, big money signing, let it all work out, complete the story and get us our first trophy. Um, he could have a big say in this one. Eberechi Eze starts for me. Right wing, I think Bukayo Saka will start, right? Again, another maybe a no-brainer, I guess you would say. This is a cup final. Saka's been with us through the trenches. He's now become the young, he was the young protege and now is the main man in there. He's probably going to wear the armband on the day if Odegaard doesn't start. Um, New contract, big wages. Why would he not start? He could again have a say in being the man to lead us to our first trophy. Um, in 5, 6 years under Arteta, man. He was there, funny enough, when we won the FA Cup under Arteta last, but he didn't even come off the bench. So this one he could have a big say in, and he could be the main man and be the reason to get us over the line. Um, and imagine what a story that would be. So Bukayo Saka on the right. On the left, I think he's going to start with Leandro Trossard. There's a case for Martinelli because he's playing on a big Wembley pitch. Their fullbacks aren't the greatest defensively, right? They like to get forward, more forward thinking. So can Martinelli get Ada Nunez, Mateus Nunes, who's probably going to start our right back for them? Yes, but I think he'll start with listen, the better left winger in my opinion, and it could be marginal based on what you guys think, but Trossard is better, more trusted with the ball, more dangerous in the final third in my opinion at the moment, despite the fact that he hasn't scored much recently. He's unlucky not to score, I think, against Leverkusen. He is a big game player as well, Trossard. And yeah, I trust him. I trust him more in there, and I think Arteta does as well. And I think up top there was a big debate between Gyökeres and Havertz. I think there still is a big debate about who starts up front there, but I think it will be Gyökeres. I do think Kai Havertz is going to have a big say in this game, to be honest with you, but I think he's going to start with Gyökeres as the manager. I wouldn't be shocked if I do see Kai on the day, but if I had to pick one right now here, you're asking me, I think Gyökeres will start and continue in there. He did have another good game against Bayer Leverkusen, did Gyökeres. But yeah, I think we'll start with him. Just go with the same tried and trusted team for the cup final. And yeah, like I said, Havertz, I think will have a big say regardless. Something tells me he's gonna have a say in this game. So listen, man, I'm hoping for the best for Arsenal Football Club. Massive, massive game. Could be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of the season because the trophy is on the line against our arch nemesis. The main guys that have been miserable, causing misery on us in the last few years. The big bosses again, as I say. But yeah, we will be there, man. I can't wait. Just about 48 hours away now. Um, Man City versus Arsenal, EFL Cup final. Let me know your guys' thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Drop some comments. And yeah, man, like, share, and subscribe and hype the video. As I always say, as we always say, go check out episode 92 that just dropped with me, Laurent, and our special guest, the African Gooner, big time guy in the Arsenal space. If you guys don't know him, go check him out on the socials. The link is in the description for episode 92. So yeah, you can check that out now on YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, go have a listen to that. It was great stuff over there. Good episode. Um, and yeah, man, and again, like, share, hype, and subscribe this video as well, as it really, really does help us. We love y'all. We're here for y'all. Come on, the Arsenal. Let's get it. Let's get this one over the line. Let's get the trophy in the cabinet. First one under this new era of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's army. Yeah, man, let's do this, man. Let's do this. It's about that time, and make this be the first of a couple this season. We will be there Sunday. Lock in. And yeah, we'll be back with more content following the game regardless. But thanks for being with us. This has been CJ from the Gunner's Corner. All right, y'all. Love and see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.